1. Introduction, a different outcome. What if Adolf Hitler had actually won World War II? It sounds like the stuff of dystopian fiction, but it's a terrifying question that historians and theorists have explored for decades. In this video, we dive deep into a chilling alternate history scenario, where Nazi Germany crushes the Allies, and the world falls under the shadow of the Third Reich. How would our maps, our culture, and even our basic human rights have changed? Let's explore this disturbing vision of an alternate timeline. 2. Hitler's final vision, the Thousand-Year Reich. Hitler's dream wasn't just about conquering Europe. He envisioned a thousand-year Reich, a Nazi empire that would dominate the planet. At the heart of this plan was Lebensraum, or living space, which meant the complete colonization and Germanization of Eastern Europe. Slavic people would become slave labor. Jews, Roma, and other minorities would be eradicated. German citizens would be relocated to newly conquered territories in the east. His megalomania extended to architecture as well. In Berlin, renamed Germania, he wanted to build enormous monuments, including a Volkshalle, People's Hall, that could hold 180,000 people. Had Hitler won, this grotesque vision of fascist utopia might have been realized. 3. The defeat of the Allies, a shift in global power. To win the war, Hitler would have needed to conquer Britain, defeat the Soviet Union, and force the United States into surrender or isolation. In this alternate timeline, Operation Sea Lion, the planned invasion of Britain, is a success. The Battle of Moscow ends in a German victory. Japan attacks Pearl Harbor but also cuts off U.S. reinforcements in the Pacific. The Allies collapse by 1943. With the Axis powers victorious, the post-war world would be split between Nazi Germany in Europe and Japan in Asia. The United States would either become a neutral observer or fall into civil unrest, unable to challenge the New World Order. 4. Nazi technology and science. Nazi Germany was already ahead in certain scientific fields, rocketry, jet engines, and even early nuclear research. If given more time and resources, the Third Reich could have developed intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs, aimed at the U.S. Nuclear weapons, giving them unmatched power. Advanced aircraft, like the Horten Ho 229, a prototype stealth bomber. Hitler's obsession with science for dominance might have turned Germany into a techno-fascist superpower. The space race? It could have been led not by NASA, but by a Nazi-run space agency. 5. A Nazi world map, the New World Order. The world map would look unrecognizable today. Europe would be divided into administrative regions under Nazi control. Eastern Europe would be depopulated and repopulate with Germans. Africa would be recolonized by Axis powers. The Middle East, rich in oil, would be tightly controlled for its resources. Even parts of South America might lean toward fascism, depending on alliances and post-war negotiations. The United States, isolated and possibly fractured, would lose global influence. Democracy as we know it might not survive at all. 6. Human rights under fascism. In this dark timeline, civil liberties would vanish. The Holocaust wouldn't have stopped, it would have expanded. Millions more would be exterminated in camps that multiplied across continents. LGBTQ+ people, disabled individuals, political dissidents, and countless minorities would be persecuted or eliminated. Education would be pure propaganda. Books, movies, music, all tools of brainwashing. A generation of youth would grow up idolizing Hitler and Nazi ideology. The concept of freedom of speech, voting rights, and democracy would be labeled degenerate and systematically erased. 7. Economy and culture, a German-centric world. The global economy would revolve around Germany and Japan. Nazi corporations would dominate trade, and only approved art and culture would be allowed to thrive. German would be taught as a second language in many regions, and Nazi symbols would be commonplace in schools, offices, and public squares. Imagine a world where Beethoven and Wagner are mandatory listening, and where jazz, blues, and anything non-Aryan is outlawed. Cinema would glorify the regime. Technology would flourish, but only in the service of totalitarianism. 8. The modern day, would we have the internet? Would we even have the internet today? It's likely that in this alternate world, the internet would exist, but tightly controlled. Think of a global internet filtered by the SS, no free thought, no alternative opinions, just constant surveillance. AI, drones, and facial recognition could be used not for innovation, but for total control of the population. Instead of global collaboration, we would live under a digital iron curtain, a hyper-connected prison of thought control. 9. Conclusion, a warning from history. This dystopian nightmare didn't happen, but it could have. And that's why it's essential to study history. To understand how close the world came to such a future. To remember the price millions paid to stop it. What if can be a chilling question. But it's also a reminder, history isn't just about the past. It's about the choices we make today, to protect freedom, truth, and humanity. History's warning, and our responsibility. What you've just seen isn't science fiction. It's a grim possibility that was once dangerously close to becoming reality. Had just a few battles gone differently, had a few more decisions favored the Axis, we might be living in a world where freedom, diversity, and human dignity are nothing more than forgotten concepts. The terrifying part? Hitler didn't just want to win a war, he wanted to reshape the human future. A future ruled by fear. By control. By the cold machinery of genocide and propaganda. But that didn't happen. Because people resisted. Because nations stood up. Because ordinary soldiers, families, leaders, and survivors made unimaginable sacrifices. This alternate history should not just shock us, it should wake us up. Because authoritarianism is not locked in the past. Because hate can still wear a suit. Because tyranny doesn't always come with bombs, it sometimes comes with silence, apathy, or revisionism. We study history not to admire it, but to learn from it. To spot the warning signs. To protect what so many died to build, a world where you can speak, think, believe, and simply exist, freely. So ask yourself. If you were alive in that alternate world, would you have obeyed? Would you have resisted? Would you even know the truth? Let's make sure we never have to find out.